On today's episode, I sit down with a real legend in the Amazon space, Norman Farrar. I personally loved this session. I felt that he answered a lot of questions that really set aside good to great companies, and his dedication and commitment to process, empowering people, and really taking me through the steps in how he's built all of the businesses that he's built, effectively creating a whole ecosystem that enables end-to-end supply chain, manufacturing, production, marketing, PR. I mean, the works. The guy is just brilliant. And this is it's not a long episode, but it is one that is brilliant. Hi, and welcome to Successful Scales, the show where I interview now successful professionals about their journey and try and garner insights onto any tips that can be applied to your business at home. Whether it's financial freedom or the exit of your company, wherever your journey may take you, the idea here is to simply learn from those who have done it before. I hope you enjoy and you get some value out of this. Buckle up and enjoy the episode. Norm, welcome to an episode of Successful Scales. Thanks so much for jumping on with me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm genuinely excited about this time. We were sitting and chatting before this, and had to push record because you've got places to be, and so do I. So I'm glad that we finally hit record, and just glad to have you here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I think we could have talked for a couple hours.
Definitely. So, I've gotten to know you a little bit, and I did a little bit of my due diligence too. And, you've done some pretty impressive things. But for those who don't know you, I'd love just for you to give me a bit of background for them to hear at home.
And I've been involved with a lot of different businesses over the last 20, 30 years, anywhere from promotional marketing, which, by the way, kind of leads me to like the way that I look at business today, and that's complete vertical integration. Like you take control of, as many companies or try to bring it all in-house so you can have that control. But anyways, going back to promotional marketing, to a tech hub, to sourcing, to getting involved with manufacturing with my family, opening up a couple of factories over in Taiwan and one still going in China right now. There's a bunch of different stuff. And then kind of Amazon came around, and it was my perfect storm. I was able to work with different brands, my own brands, get it out there. I understood e-commerce from just back in the 90s, starting it and going forward. But I guess today what I've done is I've created an Amazon managed services company, which, going back to what I was just mentioning, that vertical integration opened up a sourcing and logistics company in 3PL, which kind of ties into that, which then ties into press release, public relations, and content marketing, which is another company, prREACH. And then the final company is the chat agency, which is Facebook marketing and influencer brand ambassadors. So, and there is another company too for lead gen, but it all ties together. And that's what's, what I found to be really important.
Wowee. I was writing down notes and just thinking, you're a genius. You're a genius. You figured out like a lot of the questions. You've just really laid down an incredible blueprint for people who are really looking to build something big and how they can approach it. But I'm trying to sort of unpack it, right? And you've got so many different businesses, and what you've effectively done here is you've created this ecosystem whereby from concept to production to marketing, you can handle every single link of the chain, so that it's almost like being, if I look at the world, I come from agency land. So I look at the world as like agency versus in-house. You've built your own agency to run a single operation from end to end. That's wowee.
Yeah, and if you take a look at each individual company, so if you've got Honu, which is the sourcing and logistics, it's a company that like people are looking for all in one. And when you go and find a sourcing company, it's very hard to find somebody that's going to take it from sourcing or product innovation, inspection, logistics, 3PL. So you've got all that. So that's one contained unit. And then over on the marketing side, with the public relations, press releases, content marketing, that's all one contained unit. So everything that we're doing are these units that contain multiple services.
So I guess the question on everyone's mind probably is, when are you going to have your own actual freight containers and shipping cargo plane fleet?
Yeah. If I could figure that one out, I probably would.
yeah. I feel like that's the last standing missing piece to the entire puzzle. Well, I mean, it's incredible what you've been able to achieve, and what you're able to, I would say, equally as impressive is operate concurrently. So to be involved in that many different businesses and have each of them operate effectively, I mean, that's like dispersed scale. That's something that I think is something that particularly fascinates me, is how did you go about that? So I'd love to hear a little bit about, what the chicken and egg situation, like which businesses came first and how you sort of found your way into them, before I start asking you how you manage all of them.
Yeah. First of all, I remember going to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and this has been, everything I've ever done has been set up this way since back in the 90s. But I remember going to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I heard through the grapevine that, like, the people, the really nice people in this Chamber of Commerce all had these things going in the background saying, this guy's gonna fail miserably. He's not focused. And they didn't get what I was trying to do. I'm laser focused with what I'm trying to do. There's multiple organizations. Can I run them all? Can I be experts at all of them? Absolutely 100% not. But the concept behind it, this whole vertical integration, is a concept I don't see too often. And how do you get it going? And well, let's take a look at what we're doing nowadays. I had to become an expert in a field that I had no knowledge about, and that was Amazon. So how do you do that? Do you do it on the cheap? No, I paid for a course. I went through ASM, and I thought there might be an opportunity. So I paid that, and I went and I became involved with a few higher level masterminds. So I paid for that. Then I got some mentors. Then what I ended up doing was, and that's my wife and dog just going by.
Adorable.
See, still snow out here. You don't have to worry about that in Tel Aviv.
No, not yet.
But anyways, once that happened, I had to, before I could do anything with anybody, I had to understand it. So I had to get my own brand. I had to get all that part I know about. I know about branding. I know about e-commerce. I know about advertising on Facebook and all that other stuff. I could do that. But understanding Amazon as a beast, and it was a beast and it is a beast, that's the very first thing. Once I got a grip of that, then I could take people and I could create the systems. I'm all about systems, automation, scalability. If I can't automate and scale, I really don't want to be involved too much in a business. I'll probably just leave it. But automation and scalability, I was taught through the eMyth. Michael Gerber went through the eMyth Academy and learned how to put together processes. So for our company to grow, we really had to create processes. There's over 400 processes we have in our company right now, and even one process on how to make a cup of coffee. So that was our first process, by the way, 5-page SOP on how to make a cup of coffee.
We could talk about that one for a long time.
Yeah. But that's, so what I wanted to be able to do is get people on board that they could train the next person, and the next person can train the next person, so we could scale it. So that probably took the longest, and we're always updating those SOPs. So that definitely does take a lot of time. But once we had that on board, then we could take on the clients, the brand, like all the different brands, try to market them. And we could provide the brands with SOPs if they wanted to go one step further and build their own company out on Amazon, working with us. And at the end of that, one of the business models was, I think you're going to like this. So forget everything I just said. One of the business models is
I liked all
somebody,
of that.
well, that's one model, but the model I love is that, okay, you're a doctor or a lawyer, somebody with just discretionary income, right? You don't like Amazon, you don't know anything about it. You don't like e-commerce. So one of the reasons we've set it up this way is I could go to a person and say, look, if you don't like doing this, why are you doing it? You know, you're a doctor, go and be a doctor, you know, work on your strengths, not on your weaknesses. And so, look, I can build you a brand. I can source a product. I can package the product for you. I can design your brand. I'll create all your SOPs so you can have like just a turnkey operation, and I'll create an exit strategy for you so you can sell the business with all the SOPs and make it a turnkey operation. So while you're growing this business, so over the next 18 to 24 months, you build that, and we take like just as a business model, there's an onboarding fee, a percentage of sale, and if it's that model, equity. And I like equity. So, you know, if we've got a percentage of whatever they sell that product for,
Right,
or that brand for.
You are just on another level here. That is. I just have such a deep appreciation for what you've created. It's really unbelievable. And I'm saying that because I'm sitting here and I thought I had similar thoughts around what I wanted to build as the building blocks for the businesses that I want to create. And so I knew that it was always going to be the value in human capital. You have to be able to build the best teams. You need the best people. And my dog might be barking, so I apologize.
Oh, that's fine. No problem.
But you need the best people, right? And once
Yep.
you have the best people, that creates the engine room. So with the consulting practice, if we can build and fix any e-commerce business, then what we have created is the engine room to build any business that way. You've actually created an end-to-end turnkey solution, which is just next level. So hence the appreciation. Wow.
No, yeah, it takes a lot of time. And, you know, even with these other companies, again, I get the, how do you do it? There's no way. Well, I'm not running it. I've got really good people like Shane Oglow over at prREACH. He runs it. And the operations manager, Mana, she, you know, does a great job. But again, it comes down to SOPs, making sure the writers know everything, making sure, you know, that everything is and consistency, by the way, is very, very important. So whether that is a company or, you know, we're talking about really good quality people. Well, having good quality people run your social, run your design. If I tried to be on the cheap, go to Fiverr and just get a cheap website, a cheap brand, at the end of the day, I'm going to take a zero off of my valuation. You know, I'd rather have everything, perceived values, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So anything I do, for the most part, if you go to any of my websites, sometimes my partners hate me for this, but it's orange and black. It's very consistent, you know, everything that I touch. The podcast, well, you know, the Lunch with Norm podcast, orange and black, all the social media, orange and black. And, you know, the beard, you know, the beard is the beard guy. I mean, all these things are
your personal brand. You've really built it, and you've turned that into you know, a brand that lives even beyond.
Yeah. So, and all that, going back to what I was just saying, is built 100% on consistency.
Yeah, you're blowing my mind here, Norm. So okay, so it leads me into, I mean, again, I'm sitting here as a guy who's, you know, a million steps behind you in terms of even where my mind has gotten to. So this is a whole new way of thinking about it. I even wrote down vertical integration, which I loved. I'd love to hear your definition about that, and I would also love to hear, you know, where you're building all these companies, how do you get buy-in from the people to actually run them?
I think buy-in starts with first of all, you can't just dictate buy-in.
For sure. It's an impossibility.
Okay. Impossible. Well, all you're going to do is have um, yes people,
We're not,
yes men.
you're not trying to build teams of lemmings.
No, no, exactly. And just to give you an example, I think it starts, well, the brand, the culture, mission statement, all that. But where I find it really starts is day one training. And people find out that the culture is different. The culture is to allow people to expand their mind, right? To provide suggestions, that if they screw up, that they're not going to get screamed at because we trained them wrong. So with the start for us, I think of the brand or the culture of the company is really with the SOPs and the policies. Understanding, and the way that we'll set it up is it'll be, purpose. Why do you need the buy-in? Like with the cup of coffee, I'll give you a perfect example. So that coffee policy, people laugh at it. Well, when we sat down, I remember we had 23 people at the time, and we brought them all in, and we were coming in, and I'm hearing this. I just read the book that Michael Gerber put out, E-Myth, and I said, look, we got to do something like this. We got to systemize everything. So try to get all these people to buy in on making a cup of coffee. First question is, why should we do this? Why is this important? This is stupid. No, let's just go through the process and see what comes out of it. Well, what came out of it was actually incredible information. What we found out was people were resentful for those people that left the coffee burning, nothing left, or left just a little bit so they could say they didn't have to, put it on. Why was it important? Well, we have guests. We had a lot of different clients that came into the office on a regular basis. Well, wouldn't they like a good cup of coffee instead of a burnt syrupy, coffee, or no coffee? They'd have to put it on, and we'd wait 20 minutes to get it done. This is back in the day before Keurig. So, all of a sudden people started thinking, okay, all right, I get it. I get why we need to do it. Okay. Next step is, how do you make a good cup of coffee? People didn't know. Was it 8 teaspoons, 8 tablespoons, 1? Is it too weak, too strong? Well, why don't we just figure it out? All right, then where is everything? I don't know where the coffee is. I don't know where the creamer is. And we started, how many? So when does somebody buy it? When does somebody not buy it? How many units do you buy at one time? Who's responsible for making the coffee? And I'll tell you, that's where this first policy kicked in. So everybody bought into it. People started to oh yeah, okay, great. I understand it. Still a very simple topic, but at the end of the day, people bought in. And then it came down to one thing. Okay, we trained, we had processes, we had reporting, okay, quantifiable reports, we had checklists, everything's there. Well, the person that came in first thing in the morning was supposed to make the coffee. Person drank tea. He came in at 5:30 in the morning. He drank tea. First day, didn't do the coffee, brought him into the office. He was my sales manager, making well into the 6 figures. And what's going on? Why didn't you make the coffee? Did you not understand it? What part of the process didn't you understand? What step? No, I'm just not going to do it. What do you mean you're not going to do it? Okay, look, we got to, I almost said the guy's name. Wouldn't appreciate that. But look, you got to do it. Our next step is if you don't do it tomorrow, we're going to have a verbal communication, right? Written up. And okay, next day he doesn't do it. And I said, okay, look, if we don't get it done today, if you don't do it tomorrow, it's unfortunate, but we're going to have to let you go. And he goes, you'll never let me go. I said, yeah, I'm going to let you go. This is my top guy, my right-hand person. And he said, well, why would you do that? And I said, if you can't follow this simple procedure, how am I ever going to get you to have buy-in on any complicated procedure? So he was a little bit different, but the reason why we create all these steps is so we can actually go to the person that we train, go through the steps, have them work it back. And if they do make a mistake, where was the break? What's your answer, not me. I don't want to be giving you the answers. What's your answer on how we can fix it? And now you're starting to get more of a performance-based culture, because people are understanding that they don't have to be fearful. It's more of an education to mess up. And usually it's the training or the SOP that wasn't put together that can better the company. So the only time is if it's 3 strikes, then we either have to move the person off of that because they're working off of a weakness. Why have somebody work off of a weakness? We want people only working with their strengths. So it's either, if there's too many of them, then the person just not the right job. But most of the time you can just put them into, like if they're in accounting and they suck, okay, it's not for you. Maybe there's another position. It's not that they're bad employees. The only bad employees are employees or contractors that you don't train properly, that you don't have enough time to spend with them. That's what I find.
Right. That is just, what a way to get buy-in around the coffee. I mean, one of my businesses is a consulting practice focused on process improvement. So everything, you are preaching to the choir, and I have such a deep appreciation, because you're right. It's not that person's fault that they've got it wrong. It's something's like, that's why it can't be personal, right? Like when things happen in the office that don't go to plan, you assess, you look at what broke in the chain. Could someone not follow the process, and therefore something's gone wrong on account of something that is functionally not sound? Or is it simple that, like you're saying, and I love the 3 strike policy, and, we take a lot of our philosophy out of traction. So, right person, wrong seat, and vice versa. So I guess when you get yourself into that position, Norm, what's the process? Someone's had 2, 3 strikes. What next?
Well, first strike, and I don't think we covered it before we went off. The first strike is really when you create that SOP, you want to do many steps, not a little. Like if every little drag of the button or the mouse, let's say you have 30 steps or 40 steps. The reason for this is so that person can tell you exactly, what went wrong. You want that person to come back to you with an answer. The reason why you want them to come back with an answer is because you want to create a performance-based culture. If you start dictating what went wrong or your thoughts, they won't be able to think on their own. They'll be waiting for you. You'll be the answer. So that's the first starting point is, okay, first time, look, it's an educational mistake, probably a training mistake, or it's within the SOP. So we have to look at that. Then we change it. If there's another incident on the same task, then we're not mad. You don't get mad, you don't scream, you don't yell. The first time you do that, you might as well forget it. It's a training process, and you go through it again, same thing. The third time it happens, either the person's in a job that's their weakness, they don't get, but there's a decision to be made. Either you move the person on, but if you see just too many of these 3 strikes, then it's probably best just to cut bait. And, just it didn't work out. I don't want to get to that point. Usually in the interview process, we know where the strengths and weaknesses are. And we also, by the way, it is mandatory in our company for all employees to train 1 hour a day, whether that is a 1 hour a day, 5 hours a week, whatever it is. We pay 100% for the courses. And at the end of the week, there's a form that's filled out. What are your 5 strengths? What were your 5 weaknesses? What course did you take? And how can it apply to the business? So they're constantly becoming, you want to be, I can't be an expert in search, social media. I can't be an expert in e-com or in whatever, but I can train people to become experts. So that's really important, with the growth of the company.
Wow. And, just explaining how you approach it, it's hard to miss what it must look like as a culture. in terms of working in any one of the businesses that you're running or you're owning or operating, or sort of wherever you sit in that equation in terms of your unique ability and where you sit. But I'm just sitting here trying to absorb all of this knowledge. I'm going to sit and watch this one back. I just really think that there's that much value in your approach. Do you invest a lot of time on the culture specifically? Like, are there things that you do to build the culture? Do people walk in knowing, or how do you sort? What's your philosophy there?
I do very little. Once everybody else builds a culture. So, and that's the key. If I was the one, something would be missing, right? So if I was the one that's just dictating, no, the culture builds within, and the culture spreads. I can see if somebody gets it by how they train the next person. And if that next person is really excited about coming to work or growing the company or being part of the team, I also take a look at retention rate. How long do we keep people? Why did that person leave? Have an exit interview. And that's the same with any company that comes with. Why did that company stop working with us? It's the same sort of thing. What did we do? We have to know why. Here's the exit interview. Same thing. But the other part that's very important, I don't have it done enough with everybody, but what I do to manage a lot of time, I turn everything off. Everything. Like, you can ask, people trying to get a hold of me during the day, they're not. Like, they'll get a hold of me at specific times, and I'll just turn off. Like, I already know, I plan my day the night before. It takes 20 minutes, right? I'll slot it in. I know my night shift, so the night person will work on my inbox at 8 o'clock. Executive assistant, who, by the way, I'm looking for. The executive assistant used to go in and meet for a half hour. Then they would come back over to me at 8:30. We would talk for a half hour. They'd already clean out my inbox. So the only thing are proprietary, or not proprietary, but urgent emails. Urgent, important, urgent, important. The whole spiel there.
I know the 4 quadrants.
Yep. Then it's task A. What is your priority task? Get that done. Nothing. No Skype, no this, no that, no inbox, nothing until that gets done. No phone calls. And just by doing that, you can do so much more work. Then I can take a look. My communication gets actually streamed by another person. And if there's something urgent, then I talk. If not, I've got a half hour to look at my mail. I've got a half hour to return calls or whatever I have to do. But it's all based on, like, if you took a look at my calendar, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of different colors, yeah.
Wow.
Very, very specific.
No, very specific. I have so many more questions for you. I'm like, I'm sitting here almost being like a fanboy, because that's what my calendar look like. Like, it's funny. This is how much of a geek I think I am, or I realize I've become. Is like, I'm sitting here thinking, I'd love to see what his calendar looks like. Maybe I can learn something there. But that is too. I think that's the sickness, isn't it? I've taken it too far, haven't I?
No, it's, I mean, even for something as simple as time management, right? A lot of people don't know. This is something you want to know when you take it too far. I tell everybody about shortcuts. Anybody who wants to listen, learn shortcuts in Gmail. So if I want to forward something, I know how many times, I'm going to do that in a day, or how many times my assistant is going to do it. Well, I know that if you want to change, like, let's say in Google Drive, you want to change a folder name. Well, instead of doing and clicking on the folder, and I'll press N, and then Command C to copy, and then you can just do whatever you want. I mean, the shortcuts. There's more to a shortcut than this.
Do you know
What's
the
that?
app? Do you know the app? Are you on Mac or PC?
A Mac.
A Mac. Do you know the application Flycut?
No. What's that?
So this is a genius one. And maybe you've got something similar, but it keeps a clipboard of all of your command C's. So
yeah. I've got that. What's it called? Yeah. I do have something. I'm looking at it right now. It's just got a big clip on it. I have no idea what it's called.
yeah, so like I remember when I found that one many years ago, and that was just like, 100 of my previously saved things. It's a thing of beauty.
Yeah. And you save so much time.
So
And
much time.
you try to explain to people about that, and they don't realize just by taking that, taking the cursor and dragging it over, how much time you spend doing that, or copying, or doing whatever. You can save, I've heard you could save days, weeks of times by doing shortcuts.
Honestly, Norm, I feel like you should be hosting this show and not me. This is absolute gold. Well, listen. I know we had to cut a little. We had a little interruption. We got stuck chatting before. Honestly, I would love to have you back again at some point, because I just think that we're just scratching the surface here.
Anytime. I know we were tight on time today, but yeah, just let me know, and we'll get back on and pick it up where we left off.
I love it. I love it. So I'll say, before I let you go, if anyone needs you, wants to get in touch with one of your many companies for virtually anything in the food chain when it comes to developing to selling and exiting a brand or a product, what's the best way for them to find out, get to you, etc.?
Probably, yeah, the easiest thing to do is go to Norm or Norman. I've got a pointer one way or the other, but you can go to Norman, Norman, Farrar, F-A, not E, Farrar.com. All my information is there. And we're also doing sort of a group mentoring program. Tim Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim and I have a mentoring program that we have for group mentoring called the Centurion Group. And you can head over to Private Label Legion, click on Centurion Group if you want to get more one-on-one time, not one-on-one, but group time with us.
Awesome. And while we're here, what about your podcast?
Oh, well, Lunch with Norm. Just do one of those. Lunch with Norm.
It almost looked rehearsed. I promise you, it wasn't. Great podcast. I tune in a bunch. You've done a ton of episodes. Anyway, I'll let you get on with your day. Thank you again so much for your time. I've enjoyed this thoroughly, and I mean it when I say I want to have you back on again. So thank you.
All right, Yanni. Well, thanks again for having me on.